Angelo Batio, and this is my signature guitar called the MAB1 Armor Flame. And what I wanted to do is have a guitar with 24 frets. I wanted big inlays here because when I look at the guitar and when I play, I don't have to look at it. You know, I can close my eyes and play all night, and I do a lot of the time. But when I look at a guitar, I don't look at the fret markers on the side. I look at the frets, so I wanted bigger frets. Also, I didn't want the Mikey Ego guitar. I didn't want my signature all over it and my name all over it. I wanted this to be a guitar that other guitar players would feel comfortable playing rather than playing a Mikey guitar. And the neck is really, really thin, but it's slightly rounded so it doesn't have that classical guitar feel. And I wanted a little bit more wood and a little rounder than the typical super thin, flat shred neck. Large frets. The finish came about because I like history. I like all kinds of history, and especially armor. So I have in my house these suits of armor, small versions of like everything from samurai warriors to the Spanish conquistadors and Romans and Greeks, all this different kinds of armor. And when the graphic artist saw that, we were talking about it, we made this to be like medieval armor, and this is called chainmail. And that's what they used to wear underneath the suits of armor, kind of like bulletproof vests wear today. So it's chainmail, medieval armor, and then NASCAR flames, which is where we came up with the armor flame. We've got EMG pickups in the guitar, and I think it's a really beautiful instrument. It sounds great. Floyd Rose on there, 5-way pickup selector switch, but it's really not only built for speed. I think it looks fantastic, but when I talked to Dean about designing the guitar, this is what happened. We came up with this shape, this style. So that's the MAB1 Armor Flame. There was a magazine it's no longer around, but it was called Guitar One magazine, a big USA magazine, and they did a list of the top 10 fastest, best shredders of all time, and they named me #1, and it was in 2003. And you know, I never went out to be the fastest guitar player. That's not my goal. You know, people name me. I did not name myself. But I write for Guitar World magazine now. I've been writing for them for a year and a half. And so I still, my columns in Guitar World every month. And they're the #1 magazine in the U.S. for guitar.
Interesting.
But yeah, being the fastest to me is not important. I want to be fast enough to play what I want to play. That's important to me. The main reason Dean is such a big company is they have the distinction of having vintage guitars. And people say, well, what does that mean? But if there's companies that have been around 100 years, but their guitars from 30 or 40 years ago aren't worth anything. Dean's guitars from the past are worth a lot of money. The vintage, you've got to be a great company to have vintage stuff. Plus, he started off as a really high-end guitar company, a USA guitar company, and the ML, the dime bag guitar, that's a Dean guitar shape. They came up with that shape, and I think it's quality. And now, because they make super expensive USA guitars, but they also make guitars for people who don't have that kind of money. You know, you can buy a $100 Dean, and I think that's the reason. The quality's really high. The people at Dean are awesome. I mean, Dean, the founder, he's still with the company. Elliot, the owner, it's amazing. You know, it's just a really good group of people. I'm really happy to be. That's how they get the artists. I mean, the artists pretty much want to come to Dean now. You know, it's that good of a in 2007, I did about 115 shows around the world. And so I was on the road 250 days. This year, I'm doing a lot of things in addition to touring. Last year I not only toured that much, but I released DVDs, I released CDs. I mean, I'm busy. This year I'm concentrating more on studio work, so I'm trying to cut down the shows to about 80. But yeah, there's a lot of shows. In fact, next month I'm all over the United States, in Europe, and then in addition to recording. April and May I'm recording, but I'll still do shows. So about 80 shows this year around the world. That's what I'm looking at. If it's more, it's more, but a minimum of 80. I always do 100 a year, and this year I'm going to cut back a little. I get good tables in restaurants. But, you know what I like? I'd be lying if I said I didn't like it. Like, almost every time when I go to an airport, I get recognized. When I go to places, I get recognized. And I think it's good. It makes me feel that at least what I'm doing is being heard, and so that's what I like. Would I want to be like followed around by the paparazzi like Britney Spears? No, you know, I don't think many people would like that, but I do like the fame. I think it's cool, and I'm appreciative of it. I have a lot of times I'll be in airports, I'll see all different kinds of people. I get soldiers that are stationed, the military guys are like, dude, I have you in my iPod, man. And, you know, and I hear that a lot now because my stuff's on iTunes, and a lot of people, you know, get it. You know, it's very popular on iTunes. You know, we sell a lot of music through it. I'm a Gemini, which is the sign of the twins, and I'm lefty, but I always had that gift to be able to. For example, I play piano. That's a right-handed instrument. I mean, the world is right-handed. A butter knife in a nice restaurant's right-handed. Scissors are right-handed. So, you know, I'm a lefty in a right-handed world. That's just the way of the world. Cars, everything. So what I did was, when I was growing up, there weren't left-handed guitars available like there are today. You could get them, but you'd have to order them. They're not like, it's not like something where there's a wall of left-handed guitars. So when I started at 10, my father said, he goes, son, you would have an advantage being a left-handed person playing right-handed guitar, which is why I came up with this, because this is my strong arm. But it also meant this hand sucked. So I had to work really hard to get my picking technique. I worked for 2 years to strengthen my right hand to be as good as my left. So it was an advantage and a disadvantage, you know. But really, the only reason I played right-handed guitar, so there were no lefty guitarists at the music store in Chicago where I grew up. You know, so if I wanted to play, it was right-handed. That's it. Well, the music business is fun, and I mean that's why so many people want to be in it. But sooner or later, and I've talked about this with Dean from Dean Guitars, the founder. If you want to have a career in music, sooner or later, you've got to get your business head together. You have to, or else you're not going to have a career. And I mean, a lot of the younger bands, I mean, you take a band like Linkin Park, they do a lot of their own production, their own graphics. They're pretty much business people along with that. So I think people who don't find their business side in music have a really tough time. And if you're out partying, sooner or later, that's going to catch up to you. And for me, if I partied all the time, I'd lose my skill as a guitar player. I mean, singers that party all the time, what happens? You lose your voice. You know, what is given to you can be taken away. You know, so that's why I don't mix it. Well, there's so many things. You know, I mean, I've been in pretty much every kind of fun, wild situation. One that wasn't so fun though was I tour all over, and I happened to be in Mexico touring, and I flew in for the show that day, and they had a limo to pick me up, and I'm standing there, and the driver opens up the door, and I sit in the car, and I've got my hand on top of the car with the door open. He shut the door on my hand. I was like, and I literally, my hand, I had to open the door from the inside. It was shut on my hand. I was like, you know, I said every swear word you could imagine. I opened it up. First of all, I didn't know if he chopped my fingers. I had to look, and there was this huge, like, line. I mean, I thought I broke all the fingers, and I had to perform that night, and there was a doctor that was staying at the hotel, and they took x-rays and nothing was broken. They called it a contusion, which means I had a bruise underneath every finger. I mean, it was all black and blue, and I had to perform. That was the most pain. And you know, when I play like this, I was in pain every single note of every second and every minute of that show. So that's one of the wild ones. But I still played the show. Someone asked me last night, he goes, dude, where do you hide the third hand? I could have said something wild. But you know, I just practice hard. And you know, I was at the NAMM show this year. Kenny G was there. And you know, I was talking to him for a little bit, and you know, he had a lot of security around him, and but he was at the Dean booth actually, and he had mentioned that he, no matter what, he practices 2.5 hours every day, and I feel the same way. I'm always practicing, you know, because I think that if you let it go, then you lose it, and so I'm always maintaining it. You know, I like to practice 1 hour, 2 hours, if I can 12 or 14. That's the most, but I'm always practicing.
12 hours a day?
Yeah, when I record, that's what I do. Yeah, I'll play literally, the most I ever practiced was for my last CD called Hands Without Shadows. I did 14-hour-a-day sessions before I started the leads. I went nuts. It's like, I invented that. Like I invented this thing. I wanted to do things differently live and in the studio. Like, I sound like myself. Like, a lot of people, if they play metal guitar or in the style that I play, when they vibrato, they sound like Yngwie, or one person sounds like this guitar player. It's hard to have your own voice. And I think that I found my voice. When people hear me play, they know it sounds like me. I don't sound like other guitar players. And, I mean, even some of the shapes that I play, now I hear a lot of other players that know that, and it's kind of like the Angelo Batio sound. The way I developed the double was that I have my studio chops together, and I think in music in two terms: studio and live. CDs, concerts, and that's all there is for me. There's those two parts. In the studio, I play like this. I don't do anything. I don't need to. In the studio, you play serious. You play the best that you can play. But live, not everybody in that audience is a musician. There are people that just want to be entertained. So this is the entertainment part. And so, like Hendrix and Jimmy Page and great rockers before me, Jimmy Page had a violin bow. Hendrix smashed guitars. Richie Blackmore flipped his guitar over his shoulder. Steve Vai has a fan blowing on his hair. I mean, people do things live for the show. So that's where I came up with this. It's my unique take on Jimi Hendrix smashing the guitar. Wasn't enough for me. I wanted to do something that no one had ever done. Not to be better, cooler, different. So and I'm left-handed. So, and I play piano. So I got this idea by watching Eddie Van Halen play. I was watching a concert, and he had his guitar up like this. So I said, what if I put another one this way? And I had Dean Guitars. They were the company that built the first one, Dean. And so, but I came up with the idea to be different, to do something radically different that no one had ever done. Again, to be myself, to find my own voice, rather than copy other guitarists. I wanted to be the best Mikey I could be. You know, I wanted to be the best me that I could be. I didn't worry about trying to be Jimi Hendrix II or Eddie Van Halen or George Benson or Carlos Santana. It didn't matter to me. I wanted to be me. So that's how I did it.
Well, we saw your show last time, and we were very impressed.
Yeah, well, the main thing about the double is people can say what they want, but I really play it. That's the thing, you know, and I mean, when you're hearing the melody on one side and the bass on the other, it's two entirely different things going on at the same time. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make it musical, and musical purists that say, well, you know, you can get some negative people, oh, that's just for show, that's this. When I put in the double solos, I put elements of other people's music. For example, I play the Allman Brothers, I do Hendrix, I do Ozzy, and then when I do this contrapuntal part where I do the Alberti bass on this side, melody on the other, it's an old surf song called Pipeline. So I make really cool references to people that came before me. And I think it sounds good too.
It does sound good.
And it looks cool, you know. I'm have it upside down, I'm levitating the guitar and playing it at the same time. I mean, beginning of December, I had been on the road about 250 days last year. When I got back, it took me about a week to decompress. You know, and people ask me, well, hey man, what do you do when you're got time off? What do you stay home? You know what I mean? Because I'm on the road so much. It's real satisfying. And you know the thing too, that I learned too is now in the recording process, I kind of have a good idea of what the end result's going to sound like, because I've been doing it a long time. So I know if I record a guitar part, if it's good or bad. You know, I'm a good judge of it. Plus, I'm not a lone wolf, so to speak. I don't do it all myself. I like to have people around me. I don't engineer my own tracks. You know, I use real drums. I don't do it like a lot of people where they do it in their home studio. And that's the satisfying thing for me. When you have people around you that can help out, you usually get a better product. Because like, let's say we're working together, I do a lead, I think it's pretty good, and I ask you, well, what do you think? And you might say, oh, it's fantastic, or you might say, you know, it's pretty good, but maybe there was one spot that you could make better. So by that, I think the end result is better. It's a better product. So, and it's the same way with Dean Guitars, it's how we got there. Out of the 100 plus shows that I do pretty much every year, it's about 60% clinics, 40% concerts. And sometimes it's 50-50, but last year it was about 60-40. Because not only do I do clinics for Dean, but then the National Guitar Workshop, I'm doing that again this year, but I did a whole tour for them last year. It was 16 different cities just for them. So I do a lot.
In the clinics, do you get feedback? I mean, do you learn from people that
Yeah.
you meet?
Well, you know, I'm fortunate because I'm out there doing it. I think when you perform and you talk to people, you find out if you're going over. Yeah, I mean, I think it keeps me on my game because when you do a clinic, usually you're playing for other guitar players. It's not like a concert where, you know, people can, you know, they're non-players. Some of them, not everybody plays. So you're under more of a microscope. I call it the note police. The ones who sit there waiting for me to hit that wrong note so they can tell their friends. But yeah, I enjoy it, yeah.